Chapter 11. Ryan. She sat down next to me and passed me a tissue. We've been using a lot of these. I blew my nose, and then I didn't know where to put the sodding tissue. I didn't know where to look either. Over at the desk, Valerie was sorting through a folder. This sort of thing probably happened all the time in ICU. Shit, if Ash or Vince or anyone at school saw me like this. I pulled in a shuddering breath and dragged one hand across my eyes. I'm sorry. I know you are, the woman said. You've come here. How is she? Tara's mother sighed. She's hanging in, Ryan. A pause. Her breathing's okay now. Her temperature's down and she's responding to being touched. Relief poured through me. It was so enormous, I actually felt my body swell. Yet I knew there was something else coming. Her eyes were tired but steady. They still don't know how much brain damage she has. Now the sedation is wearing off, they'll start to find out. There it was, the fear that still made my eyes screw shut. Would I end up wishing she had died? I sucked in another breath. The tissue in my hand was soggy and disgusting, but I used it again. More footsteps. Tara's father appeared. Mr. Moore is here, Sally. He wants to talk to us. He gave me a half nod. Mrs. Gower stood. So did I. We have to go, Ryan, her husband said. It was the first time he'd spoken my name. Tara's mother took his hand, hesitated a moment, then spoke to me. You can phone us at home if you want. I nodded, though they were already moving away. Yeah, I'd phone, because there was still one person I had to see. Tara. 10 days after admission, the danger from the brain spiking had receded. There was no sign of fits or seizures, though occasional spastic twitching in the legs occurred. The intracranial monitor was removed. Tara. Something pressed on my head, then it went away. I wasn't drifting any longer, I was more solid. But I didn't know where I was, what I was. Big gaps in everything. Ryan. I couldn't drive home straight away. I sat in the Subaru holding the steering wheel. It felt friendly and ordinary. My hands looked the same. The feeling swept over me again. If only I could just wish myself into a time when none of this had ever happened. I drove home so slowly that 3 cars honked at me. Mum and John were in the garden again. I told them what Mrs. Gower had said. We just wait, love, Mum told me. That's all we can do. Ash had rung, so I phoned him back. You've been to the hospital? He asked. How was it? I mumbled something. He'd been talking to Mel. She and Brittany knew she shouldn't have gone over the top like that, but she'd never admit it. Brittany never says she's sorry, Ash told me. I pictured the fair hair and glaring green eyes. Yeah, I bet she didn't. I worked on a print media assignment for English during the afternoon. Words help, I was starting to realise. I did some TKD stretching exercises, but by 9:30, I felt as if someone had spent the day twisting my neck one way and my shoulders the next. So I went to bed. It was the best sleep I'd had in the 10 days. I didn't wake till the first grey-white light was colouring the curtains. Outside, the whole street was still. Then a single bird spoke 4 notes, and another bird spoke back. I'd never noticed things like that before. I tried to imagine Tara. What sort of sleep and waking was there for her? Children and adolescents seem to recover better from brain injury than adults. This may partly be due to the fact that their brains are not yet hardwired, i.e., uninjured areas can take over functions normally performed by the injured parts. At the same time, an adolescent has usually learned more than a younger child, so she or he may have a wider basis of understanding to start rebuilding on. Ryan. Monday lunchtime at school, Those two chicks who'd said how Mel and Brittany were after me just walked past like they'd never seen me before. They weren't trying to put me down. I reckon they'd really forgotten me. People are so separate. 11 days after admission, with sedation almost worn off, examination of the patient's pupils confirmed an unevenness in size. Left pupil 5 millimeters, right pupil 6 millimeters. This could indicate some other brain incident or damage. Tara. Light in my eyes. Yeah, someone's opening them. Can I do it too? Is it Mum? Or is it... I keep forgetting my friends' names. Ryan. Ash and Vince were waiting at the corner again on Tuesday morning. Made me laugh, almost. The two of them looked like bodyguards. Quite a few things about Vince were making me laugh now. I might tell him about them sometime. Tuesday night at TKD, I did some proper fighting. I had to. Greg called me out to spar against him. When you spar, you're not supposed to kick or hit your partner hard. Greg is a black belt 4th dan, and I could hardly hit him at all. It was like trying to fight a shadow. A couple of times he deliberately slowed down, and I almost landed, a side kick on him. When we stopped, I was gasping and sweating. Greg wasn't even puffing. He nodded and said, "Good." I felt brilliant. Bet the crafty sod had done it on purpose. The moment I got home, Mum called, "Ryan?" Her voice was high, twangy sounding. My guts started heaving. She saw the look on my face and spoke quickly. "Victim support rang, love. Tara's being moved out of intensive care tomorrow. She's going into a recovery ward." My head felt heavy. I didn't speak. They still don't know about the brain damage, but she's going to live, Ryan. She's going to live. It was too important for me to do or say anything. Too important to laugh or howl. Mum put one hand against my cheek and leaned her forehead against mine. In my room, I sat without moving on the edge of my bed. I felt as if I was holding a cup filled with something incredibly precious. If I did anything, or even thought anything too suddenly, it might spill. Suddenly I pictured the court charge I still had to face. Now it wouldn't be. Over and over through my mind went the words, "You'll be okay now. You'll be okay now." I wasn't sure who I was saying them to.